clearly audible to all of you. Welcome to this episode of Reality Check, the webinar series that's been bringing to you the perspectives and stories straight from the grounds up. My name is Chetan Kapoor, and I'm your host for this evening. Thank you all for joining us for this discussion on a topic that's been extremely crucial to so many of us working in the education space, and one that is close to my heart as well. रियलिटी चेक की इस श्रृंखला में आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। मुझे बहुत खुशी है कि आप लोग सब आज हमारे साथ हैं और उम्मीद है कि अगले 1.5 घंटे में जो हम चर्चा करेंगे, जो बातें करेंगे, उससे आप सभी कुछ ना कुछ लाभान्वित होंगे। दिस विल बी अ म्यूचुअली बेनिफिशियल डिस्कशन फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. So for the benefit of our audience who've joined us for the first time today, the Reality Check series is an initiative of a group of social entrepreneurs working across different geographies of the country. We felt strongly that the voice of those who are working day and night, day in and day out on the ground, must be heard. From education to livelihoods to the plight of migrants and farmers, the purpose of Reality Check is to bring forth the unheard, yet unfaded and strong voices from the ground. Amidst the din and chatter that we hear all around us, these are perhaps the only voices that matter. Today's session marks the first of 4 gripping episodes lined up till Sunday, March 31st. Last week, Reality Check hosted discussions on challenges related to migration, food distribution, healthcare workers, and women's safety and well-being. Today, as we start a new series, we are here to talk and hear from 4 individuals about education during these uncertain and troubled times. Before we start, I would like to inform the audience that if during the course of the webinar you have any questions for the panelists, please share them in the Q&A tab you see at the bottom of your screen. We are also streaming this webinar live on Facebook. The link for this is in the chat tab at the bottom of your screen. You can ask your networks to access it and post any questions there as well. So what is it that we are going to talk about today? Over 300 million school-going children are away from school, not because their communities aren't aware of the virtues of education or that they lack the affordability of schooling. These children are home today as a result of the unprecedented consequence of COVID-19 has put before us. How can our children continue learning in the present circumstances? This question has gripped us all since the beginning of the nationwide lockdown that forced schools to shut down, made millions of people pack everything and go back to their home states. With schools closed, little livelihood options, poor living conditions, worried parents, the education of our children has got massively disrupted. While in urban and even peri-urban localities, technology has in some ways helped to keep our children actively engaged in learning. This challenge is deeper in remote geographies where technology hasn't yet seeped into the way of life. So how can we continue to deliver the promise of education to children in this current reality? What can we do to empower villages and communities to truly raise their children and engage them meaningfully in learning despite this challenging situation? With these questions looming before us, let's begin this evening's conversation. In this session of Reality Check on Disrupted Education, we will understand the realities on ground where some of our warriors are battling to keep education alive. Let me now introduce all of you to our panelists. Our first panelist, Neeraj Naidu. Neeraj, can you please raise your hand? Our first panelist, Neeraj Naidu, has been working with Shiksharth, an organization based in Sukma, Chhattisgarh, for the last 5 years. Shiksharth works towards bringing access to meaningful education for children living in conflict-affected tribal areas by integrating community wisdom with existing curriculum and creating contextual pedagogical practices. In response to COVID-19, Shiksharth has been creating and disseminating learning kits, which includes worksheets and reading material to children who have no access to internet or mobile phones. Apart from this, they have also done more than 40 read alouds of some of the best illustrated books for children and put it out there on YouTube so it could be accessed freely to anyone out there across the world. Our second panelist, Aswathi, is a member of Ayang, an organization working in a remote island, Majuli, in Assam, with the Missing tribe. Ayang works towards the transformation of the marginalized communities of Northeast India through the areas of education, healthcare, and livelihood. At the heart of their work is the Hummingbird School, an alternative school started by Ayang's founding team along with 19 village communities in 2017. Our third panelist, Samiksha Godse, has been working with Lok Biradri Prakalp in the Gadchiroli district for the last 10 years, catering to children community run schools for tribal children. They are battling COVID-19 through village situated learning centers. Lok Biradri Prakalp has been relentlessly working in the field of healthcare, education, and environmental awareness for the last 47 years. Our fourth panelist, Tanya Praveen, is a member of iSaksham, an organization based in Munger in Bihar. Tanya began her journey as a community teacher in her village of Munger, where she would teach children of classes 1 to 3. She graduated from iSaksham's 2-year post-training fellowship program and today actively builds the capacity of fellows who, like her, aim to effectively teach the children in the backward communities of Jamui and Munger in Bihar. Tanya's journey has witnessed a transformation itself from being a teacher for a few to coaching aspiring teachers in the community. She is a role model for children in her village. Once again, we welcome you all to this evening's discussion and to the panelists for thanking you for joining us today. Once again, my name is Chetan Kapoor and I'm your host for this evening. So before we get into the topic, it will be great to get to know each of you a little better. And if you could all share a little bit about yourselves, I'm sure the participants are waiting to hear from you. So if you could just share where you come from, about your background, your work, and why you are doing what you're doing. So can we start with Neeraj, please?
Yes, Chetan, thank you so much. So yeah, hi everyone. My name is Neeraj. Chetan, if I'm inaudible at any point, please tell me.
Sure, Neeraj, you're
Yeah,
loud and clear. Go ahead.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, so my name is Neeraj and I work with Shikshat, which is based in Sukma in Chhattisgarh. And I have been living in Chhattisgarh since the beginning of my life. Before making an entry into the education space, I was an engineer and had also worked for quite a few months in an advertising agency as a writer. But those jobs were really fantastic jobs, but they were also full of lies and hollowness. So then I moved out of it and then I was in the quest of search of the meaning of existence or whatever they say. Then coincidentally I landed in a place called Dantewada, which is also in Chhattisgarh. There I started working with children and met quite a few amazing people who have left the comforts of their life to work in this region for children. So I was highly inspired by them. And also by that time I was working with children, so I fell in love with it. Not because teaching is a wonderful profession and every day is a new day in the profession, but also because as a child, my heart really pained when I was in my school, the way teachers were, the way schools were, the way we were being hopelessly taught. मतलब दिल टूट गया था उस समय, and now there was an opportunity to do something about it. So that's when I decided that I am going to work for children in this region, maybe for whole of my life. I don't know. Yeah. So then a handful of us moved to Sukma, which is also in southern Chhattisgarh, and started Shikshat in 2015 with the vision of bringing the community's knowledge, its languages, its worldviews into the center of the existing curriculum. And that's how we started working with schools again, with children directly, day in and day out. Uh, try, and also, I must tell you about the children who come from various indigenous communities, speaking various different languages, having a wonderful way of life. But also there are problems regarding with conflict and the way the community is being underserved. So that is an overall anecdote about my journey to the education space and how my life looks like right now. Yeah, yeah, Chicken.
That's fantastic, Neeraj. I mean, it's so heartening to hear of your journey and your grit, and the fact that you've chosen to work in an area which we've probably only seen. I mean, a lot of us who worked primarily in urban spaces like me. Um, so for all of us who worked in cities like Delhi, Bangalore, and Mumbai, I think we can only visualize what it must be like in a place like Sukma, which we've been hearing in the news, usually for unfortunate reasons. And for you and Shiksharth to take the cudgels on behalf of educating children over there is really fantastic. Great to have you on board, Neeraj. Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you
Let
so
us
much.
move to Tanya now. Tanya, आप शायद यहाँ पे सबसे यंग पैनलिस्ट हैं और बहुत अच्छा है कि आप हमारे साथ हैं, तो प्लीज ब्रीफ में अपनी जर्नी के बारे में बताएं।
बिल्कुल। हेलो एवरीवन, मेरा नाम तानिया परवीन ऑलरेडी आप जान चुके हैं एंड मैं मुंगेर से ही हूँ और आईएसएचएम से जुड़ी हुई हूँ। और मुंगेर के जो बिहार में मुंगेर है उसमें अभी आईएसएचएम जो है 2 जिलों में काम कर रही है, जीविका और जमुई और मुंगेर में। मैं आईएसएचएम से लगभग 3-3.5 सालों से जुड़ी हुई हूँ और मैंने आईएसएचएम से फेलोशिप भी किया है। तो अभी एज ए टीम मेंबर मैं आईएसएचएम पे वर्क कर रही हूँ और फैसिलिटेट करने का मेन रोल मेरा चल रहा है।
हाँ, आपको सुन पा रहे हैं।
आवाज जा रही है?
जी हाँ तानिया, वी कैन हियर यू।
जी यस, मैं आईएसएचएम में फैसिलिटेट करती हूँ 4th बैच को। मैंने ये फैसिलिटेशन इसलिए ज्वाइन किया क्योंकि मुझे हमेशा से लीडरशिप एंड फैसिलिटेशन बहुत पसंद था और मुझे काफ़ी अच्छा लगता है इसमें जुड़कर काम करना और यूथ हैं उनके साथ काम करना और एक फ्रेंड के जैसे हम लोग सब मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं। और मैं अपने ही बैकग्राउंड के बच्चों को, जब मेरी फेलोशिप चल रही थी तो मैं अपने ही बैकग्राउंड के जो बच्चे थे मेरे, तो उनको मैं पढ़ाया करती थी और उनके साथ अभी और भी जो नए फेलो आ रहे हैं, जो नए एडू लीडर्स आ रहे हैं, वो उनको पढ़ाते हैं और मैं उन पे सब सपोर्ट करती हूँ। तो मेरा रोल यही है और कुछ प्रोजेक्ट हो गया, सेशन प्लान, ये सारी चीज़ों पे मैं इन्वॉल्व रहती हूँ। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू वेरी मच तानिया। बहुत अच्छा लगा आपकी बात सुन के। मुझे याद है करीब 15 साल पहले मैं मुंगेर गया था और देखा था कि वहाँ पे कितना पिछड़ापन है और कितनी ज्यादा जरूरत है आपके जैसे और आई सक्षम के जैसे संस्थाओं की वहाँ पे काम करने की। तो इसी दृढ़ता के साथ आप जुड़े रहिए और आपके बारे में और आपके काम के बारे में और खास तौर पे कोविड से क्या असर पड़ा है इसके बारे में हम जल्दी आपसे और सुनेंगे। Let us now move to our next participant, which is Samiksha Godse. So Samiksha, all over to you now.
Yeah. Hello everyone, and thank you for inviting me. हमारे यहाँ पे अच्छा नेटवर्क नहीं है तो शायद से बीच में मेरी आवाज जाएगी। तो मैं लोक बिरादरी प्रकल्प में से जुड़ी हुई हूँ। यहाँ पे जो हेमलकसा करके गांव है जो गढ़चिरौली जिला है महाराष्ट्र में, वहाँ पे हम रहते हैं और हमारे यहाँ का जो मेन काम है वो 3 चीजों पे फोकस है कि पहला तो स्वास्थ्य, दूसरा शिक्षा और तीसरा पर्यावरण रक्षण। तो शिक्षा में जो हम काम करते हैं वो बेसिकली स्कूलों, हमारी खुद के स्कूल है उससे बच्चों तक पहुंचते हैं और सरकारी शिक्षकों के साथ भी थोड़ा सा हम काम करते हैं। मेरा बैकग्राउंड ऐसा है कि मैंने ऊना की हूँ मैं, जो काफी दूर है, हेमलकसा करके जो गांव है वहां से। और मैंने कभी सोचा नहीं था कि मैं आगे जाके डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर में बच्चों के साथ काम करूंगी, पर चूंकि मेरी यहाँ पे शादी हुई तो फिर आई इवेंचुअली लाइक एक्सीडेंटली लैंडेड अप ओवर हियर। और फिर 1.5-2 साल मैंने खुद के लिए समय लिया कि यहाँ पे आके क्या करना है। फिर ये सोचा कि शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में काम करना चैलेंजिंग है और मैं अच्छे से कर पाऊंगी, और फिर मैंने धीरे धीरे काम करना शुरू किया। वैसे तो ये जो हमारा स्कूल है वो काफी पुराना है और यहाँ से काफी सारे बच्चे निकल के अपने अपने क्षेत्र में अच्छा काम कर चुके हैं। तो बस
थैंक यू समीक्षा। और मुझे पता है कि जिस एरिया में आप काम करती हैं, गढ़चिरौली, वो महाराष्ट्र का सबसे पिछड़ा इलाका है और ट्राइबल डिस्ट्रिक्ट है ऑलमोस्ट entirely. And I am sure you're facing a number of challenges right now in the current situation, and we'll soon get to hear more from you and learn about these challenges. Over to our last participant for today, Aswati, who comes from an organization called Ayang in far off Assam. So let's hear from you, Aswati.
Thank you, Chetan. Hello, everyone. I'm Ashwati. I live and work with the flood-affected tribal communities in Majuli Island. It's in Assam. I grew up shifting between Kerala and Dubai up until my graduation in engineering. And I think it was this shifting while growing up that prompted my interest in education, that got me thinking about the disparity in quality of education, having studied in both a low-income government school in Kerala, as well as further doing college in Dubai. So it eventually led me to pursue my Teach for India fellowship right after my graduation in 2014, where I moved to Bombay. So 2 years in Bombay, I taught both a primary class as well as a secondary class. And post my fellowship, I moved to Manipur, where I worked with communities affected by conflict through an organization called the Sunbird. It was during this time that I moved, I actually visited Majuli, and I came to the Hummingbird School in the second month. And I just really connected with the people here, the work here, and the discussions that we used to have, and continued engaging with the team even after going back. So the discussions that we used to have regarding, what does it really mean to have the school in this community made us think about how or if the Hummingbird School can be a model school for the entire region, if not the island. And it led to the formation of the organization called as Ayang. So shortly after I went back, I moved abroad actually to pursue my master's in peace education. And but as soon as I was done in a year, I came back to the team. And currently I coordinate and facilitate our education programs, where we work with close to 50 government lower primary schools, as well as few community private schools in school improvement, in science programs, few library programs. So that's what we currently do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashwati. The area that you work in is another part of our country which has always fascinated me, because I haven't traveled too much over there, but knowing the kind of ground realities in that area is something which I am really looking forward to hearing from you during the course of this webinar today. So for all the audience who've just joined us, now, let me repeat that today we are going to explore the ground realities and challenges around education that we and our communities are facing. And we are joined by 4 amazing and inspiring panelists who are working in remote geographies of Sukma in Chhattisgarh, Gadchiroli in Maharashtra, Majuli in Assam, and Munger in Bihar. And if you think about these areas, probably the one thread that connects these geographies is that there has been a history of conflict and strife in a lot of these regions. I personally come from Patna, and I know that Bihar has always been, one of the most caste-ridden geographies in our country, and we know what the situation has been in Sukma in Chhattisgarh, where we know that the Naxal strife has been on forever, and so has been the case in Assam, where Ashwati comes from, and we know that Gadchiroli in Maharashtra is an area where there has always been a conflict between tribals and the rest of the communities. So let's get started on this very riveting topic that we have, something which I said earlier is close to my heart. So we are in this very confusing and uncertain situation. शायद हम लोग में से किसी ने भी ऐसा नहीं सोचा था कि हमें ऐसे दिन देखने पड़ेंगे जब सभी स्कूल्स बंद होंगे. ज्यादातर तो सिर्फ समर हॉलिडेज के टाइम ऐसा होता था, पर इस बार कुछ ज्यादा ही लंबी समर हॉलिडेज चल गई हैं. और ये सिचुएशन जबकि हम लॉकडाउन में रहे हैं, हम घर से बाहर नहीं निकल पाए हैं कई दिनों तक. So we don't know how long it's going to take for life to come back to normal, और schools कब खुलेंगे ये हमें पता नहीं है. And there is a greater confusion that if schools remain closed, but work starts, which is what is already happening in some parts of our country, who will be with the children at home? Because we know that in a lot of our remote areas, parents go for work, but they are secure that their children are safe at the school. So what is it like in the communities that you are working in with respect to education and learning? What are the kind of challenges that you are seeing? So Samiksha, if we could start with you.
Yeah, so just a couple of days back, Gadchiroli was yet a green zone. So we did not have even a single positive patient in the whole of district. So the work was going on, and जब लोग खेतों पे जाते हैं काम करने के लिए तो बच्चों को साथ में लेके जाते हैं. और मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम जो अभी तक मैंने देखा, दैट वाज लैक ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन. सो यहाँ पे ज्यादा से ज्यादा 10 गांव में फोन नेटवर्क चालू है, मतलब हमारा जो तालुका है वहाँ पे, और न्यूज़पेपर भी नहीं आता है. तो पीपल कुड नॉट मेक सेंस ऑफ व्हाट इंफॉर्मेशन दे आर गेटिंग. तो पहले जब पहला लॉकडाउन हुआ तब उनको ऐसा लगता था कि 10 से ज्यादा लोग सिर्फ इकट्ठे आने से कोविड होता है. तो मतलब इतना बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन भी उन तक नहीं पहुंच पा रहा था. तो वो मुझे लगता है कि एक सबसे बड़ा बैरियर है इस पूरे सिचुएशन में. दूसरा ऐसे हुआ है कि बिकॉज द इंफॉर्मेशन कुड नॉट बी it could not reach them properly. There has been lot of increase in all this shamans and puja and बलि, हिंदी में आई डोंट नो, पर उसको बलि देना बोलते हैं. तो उसमें बहुत ज्यादा एक बढ़ चुका है ये सब. तो people are like resorting to their own means to battle the infection. और पर अभी ऐसे हुआ है कि थोड़ा अवेयरनेस बढ़ गया है और छोटे छोटे फिल्म्स वगैरह बना के वो गांव में दिखा रहा है. तो they have started like understanding कि क्या हो रहा है, but yet not completely understood. So lack of information is the biggest challenge ऐसे मुझे लगता है.
Right. And if you could very briefly tell us that how is your organization trying to combat this lack of awareness? What is it that you are doing to address this issue? आपकी संस्था क्या कर रही है इसके लिए?
So हमने गांव में जाकर यहाँ पे और एक प्रॉब्लम है कि जो ट्राइबल लोग हैं उनकी खुद की भाषा, उनका खुद का अलग संस्कृति है. तो जो हमारी महाराष्ट्र की भाषा मराठी है तो वो उनको समझ में नहीं आती। जैसे कि खाली पुरुषों को आती होगी क्योंकि वो बाहर बाजार में जाते हैं, पर जो औरतें और छोटे बच्चे हैं वो तो जो उनकी लोकल लैंग्वेज है बस वो ही बोलते हैं। So we had taken up an awareness drive in each and every village, and we explained to them all the things about COVID in their own mother tongue. But the thing is that information comes through many avenues. It's not like just us telling them. So it creates a lot of confusion and all those complexes.
Right. Thank you, Samiksha. Let's move to Neeraj. What are the kind of challenges that you are seeing on ground, Neeraj, and how different is it from what you've just heard from Samiksha?
Yeah, Chetan. Yeah. So before I start speaking anything about COVID-19 experience, Sukma, so I must tell you one thing beforehand, that Sukma is anyway extremely difficult and complicated region, and in many sense, largely in two sense. One is geographical sense, because in terrain-wise it is extremely hard to reach, inaccessibility is rampant. Roads are very doesn't connect villages. Second, in the sense of conflict, which is like everybody knows that the mass of population has been sandwiched between the Maoists and the police forces. So these two layers one has to cross when one tries to do anything in this land, in this piece of land. So now speaking about COVID scene, Sukma is yet a green zone. There hasn't been any cases yet. And it's like Samiksha said, there has been a problem with information. I believe, as far as I know, all the villagers are very much aware about that there is some kind of problem going on around us, and there is some sort of virus which might affect us. So they have, in the lockdown one itself, they have started putting barriers across their villages, stop letting anyone come inside or going out. Those sort of things are there. I could see even on school buildings, Anganwadis, they have written coronavirus क्या है, ये ऐसे फैलता है, खांसी होती है, ये सारी चीजें. तो इस तरीके की चीजें गांव में हुई है. Been also talking with people in the villages. Today only I talked with a ward punch, and he was very well aware कि क्या है और किस तरीके से फैलता है. But now in lockdown 3 and 4, the situation has been little bit. In 1 and 2 it was very much worried, like सब लोग घबराए हुए थे, but now they are much more. I don't know why that is happening, but they're much more free now in that sense. Now speaking about that, I must speak about the scene of schools here. So March 15 के बाद से सारे स्कूल बंद हो गए, and then all the children went back to their homes. Now all the children who either they were studying in residential schools or they were studying in day boarding schools, everybody just went back to their villages, and now having a very wonderful life. Actually, I mean, I don't know how much of this should be said in this sort of speak about how much of wonderful life they are living, but I must say this, that the children, I have been visiting some few of the villages in now when in lockdown 4, where we can have movement in green zones. So visiting to few villages, I could see children doing a lot of work in the villages, contributing a lot to their livelihood, playing a lot till the sun sets, hunting a lot in the dark night. A lot of things are happening, and they're very active, which is usually not the case in school. But anyway, but there is in all children there is an inner thirst to learn, to understand the world around them, and they want to learn. They are very eager to learn. They keep telling us, "ये कहानी बताओ, वो सिखाओ, ये सिखाओ," and that is where education comes into play, and that is really missing right now. And like Samiksha also said that mobile networks are problem. It's the same situation here, not just mobile networks but also mobile devices. All sorts of infrastructure is extremely missing. There is, or even mobile जिनके पास है भी, we cannot say that if you have mobile phones then children will definitely learn from it. Like giving mobile for 5 minutes won't mean that children are learning from it. So that is and the another thing is the parents were also not able to facilitate any sort of learning which we are speaking about here, like the school education we are speaking about here. So that is not being facilitated through the parents. That is one of the major uh, things. So now it seems very dull and bleak what is going to happen with children in terms of the school education we are speaking about here. Otherwise, I think the children are in this region, children and the community are not much affected with this theme, and their lives are running at a pace that has always been the case. Yeah.
Right, Neeraj. I get that, and I completely agree with you that children are, innately curious, and the need for learning is there in almost every child. Though of course, I also have heard that for a lot of children, not having school is great. So a lot of them are also having a lot of fun. So which actually uh, is a reflection on our education system itself, because if our schools are not attractive enough for our children, I mean, they are clearly not doing a good job. So we'll come back to you in a moment, but before that, let's just turn to Ashwati and hear about the experiences that you have been facing these last few months, and what have your days been like?
In a lot of sense of what Neeraj said or Samiksha said, it's quite true for our communities here too. Few observations that might be different, or maybe they also might connect with. One of the things that really showed itself stark is how self-sustainable the communities that we work with are. Yes, there is a loss of livelihood or income, but food poverty was not one of it for most of the people that we work with. They are people who grow their own food, own rice, or they forage for vegetables, catch their own fish. So it was not a very difficult thing to put food on the table for their families, for majority of the communities that we work with. And uh, it just makes me wonder what uh, sustainability means during times like these, where we otherwise are talking about a world that is connected. So that's one aspect. Another thing that really stood out is how lockdown went. What lockdown is, it just went against the very nature of the tribal communities that we work with. So the communities that we work with are very open, they're very giving, and they're very warm. They spend a lot of time with each other. So it was very, very difficult for them to stay at home when the lockdown came. It didn't make sense to them, like maybe in urban context, like we go to office, we come back, we are at home. It's not like that. They go with their neighbors to the fields. The women folk go foraging together. They go to the little ponds and catch fish together. They sing, they celebrate together. So it just was very, very difficult for them to do this. So in the end, what eventually happened was they continued with their way of life. They are still together, doing things together. It's just that within the unit of the village, right? So the village is shut for anyone from outside, but within the village, they're continuing the way they're doing things. A third thing is aspect is a little bit more personal for me as a person as well. I am asthmatic and allergic to a great extent. So in the last 2 months, I have visited the local hospital thrice on an emergency condition. And how bad the medical facility here just keeps me worried or wondering, what's going to happen when there's a case here, or if COVID spreads in our communities, because with flood season coming, the island is going to be completely shut out. There is ferries are not going to run. What are we going to do then? It just keeps me thinking.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ashwati. I mean, that's something which has um, perturbed me, quite a bit. That in a way, it is good that we are seeing a majority of the cases in urban areas, because I've been to some of these geographies, and I know that the primary healthcare system in our villages, in some cases, is completely non-existent, and in so many cases, so broken that, God forbid, but if it were ready to spread in some of these communities, it is going to be a really difficult situation. Um, but what I've so far heard from each one of you is that yes, the lockdown, would have got the children wondering as to what's really happening, and I'm sure children love to go outdoors, and the lockdown has probably been something which they were really not prepared for, and I'm sure a lot of them are not happy about that. But at the same time, what I see is that in the kind of communities that you come from, because these are also essentially green zones, so it's more of a social dynamic which seems to have changed right now, from a medical and a healthcare perspective. um, Seems like we're doing relatively better as compared to cities. So now let us take this question to Tanya. और तानिया, आप बताएं कि मुंगेर में जहाँ पे आप हैं, और जिस कम्युनिटी से आप जुड़ी हैं, वहाँ पे क्या स्थिति है? जो बच्चे हैं और जो उनके पेरेंट्स हैं, वो इस लॉकडाउन को और इस परिस्थिति को किस तरह से ले रहे हैं?
हाँ, तो यहाँ पे जैसे यहाँ पे जो कम्युनिटी है जहाँ पे मैं रह रही हूँ, और वहाँ पे जो मैंने अनुभव किया है, तो इसमें ये रहा है कि जो कम्युनिटी के लोग हैं उस चीज़ को बहुत ही अच्छे से, जैसे बहुत पहले भी बहुत बार महामारी हुई थी, लेकिन बहुत लोग इसको हवा में उड़ा देते थे कि कुछ नहीं होगा, ऐसे होगा, नहीं होगा। लेकिन अभी जो गांव में देखने के लिए मिल रहा है यहाँ पे कि सभी लोग अवेयर है इस चीज़ को, और कोई भी लोग बाहर से भी आ रहे हैं, जैसे बिहार में तो जो भी लोग बाहर फंसे हुए थे, जैसे छत्तीसगढ़ से आ रहे, हरियाणा से आ रहे, कोलकाता से आ रहे, तो उन लोगों के लिए इन्फॉर्म भी कर रहे हैं। और जैसे यहाँ पे जो मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लोग हैं, नमाज मस्जिद में नहीं पढ़ना, चाहे वो गांव का छोटा सा गांव हो। हमारे यहाँ जैसे हम जहाँ पे मैं रह रही हूँ सिर्फ 30 मुस्लिम है, लेकिन फिर भी वो लोग, और ज्यादा जेंट्स है भी नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी वो मस्जिद में नमाज नहीं पढ़ रहे। तो जैसे रमजान गुजरा उस टाइम भी यही चीज फॉलो हो रहा था, तो काफी अच्छे से ये लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं, एक जगह पे बैठ नहीं रहे हैं, और जो भी लोग बाहर आ रहे हैं उससे दूरी बना के रख रहे हैं। और जहाँ तक बात रही है, थोड़ी सी यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम भी रहा है इस टाइम की, जैसे कुछ चीज ऐसे भी हो रहा है कि कुछ परेशानी ऐसी आ रही है जिसमें किन्हीं को अनाज नहीं मिल रहा, किन्हीं का राशन कार्ड नहीं है, तो इस तरह की परेशानी है। तो वो इसमें जीविका भी बहुत ज्यादा मदद कर रही है, जो बिहार पे चल रही है प्रोग्राम जीविका की, तो वो भी मदद कर रही है, तो उनसे मिल रही है। लेकिन यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा मतलब ये चीज, सबसे अच्छी चीज मुझे जो दिखाई यहाँ पे दे रही है लॉकडाउन के समय में, वो है सफाई। सफाई काफी अच्छे से यहाँ पे बिहार में लोग फॉलो कर रहे हैं, तो ये चीज मुझे काफी यहाँ पे अच्छी लग रही है। और दूसरी चीज है बच्चों के साथ, तो बच्चे जब फर्स्ट टाइम लॉकडाउन लगा था उस टाइम बच्चे को फील नहीं हो रहा था कि क्या लॉकडाउन लग गया, उनके लिए तो छुट्टी आई थी स्कूल की और मजे कर रहे थे। और पेरेंट्स को थोड़ा सा मेहनत करना पड़ रहा था कि वो घर पे बच्चों को रखे, बाहर ना जाने दे, तो इस तरह की चीजें देखने को मिली है। लेकिन अभी जैसे हम लोगों के सेशंस के बाद बच्चे जानते हैं कि कोरोना क्या है, उसके बारे में, मतलब वो लॉकडाउन जैसी चीज को कभी जानते नहीं थे, वो चीज वो जान गए हैं। और कभी कभी ऐसा भी आता है कि जब बाहर से लोग आते हैं तो बच्चे नहीं जान रहे हैं कि वो बाहर से लोग आए, तो उनके साथ लेकिन थोड़ा सा दूरी बना के रखते हैं, लेकिन बच्चे हैं उनके साथ खेलना चाहते हैं वो, तो इस तरह की चीजें भी देखने को मिलती है यहाँ पे। तो इस तरह से चल रहा है। दूसरा जो मेरा एक्सपीरियंस रहा है यहाँ पे लॉकडाउन के समय, तो काफी दिन से मैं अंदर हूँ, कहीं जा नहीं रही है, तो थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे मैं इफेक्ट हुई हूँ मेंटली थोड़ा सा, कि मैं बाहर घूमूं। कल मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था कि मैं बाहर जाऊं कहीं खेत वगैरह घूमने के लिए, कहीं नदी के पास, फिर मैं नहीं गई। फिर सोचे कि मैं जाऊंगी तो और लोग जाएंगे पीछे पीछे, तो हो सकता है मैं 4-5 लोग के साथ जाऊं, तो मैं नहीं गई। दूसरी चीज है जो मेरे काम को लेकर है, तो वो भी इफेक्ट हुआ है। जो पहले से मैंने प्लान किया था कि मैंने इस मंथ में ये करना है, तो वो पूरा चेंज हो गया है, तो ये भी इफेक्ट हुआ है। और और भी काफी चीजें जो कुछ चीजें अच्छी भी हो रही हैं, कुछ चीजों पे बहुत सोचना भी पड़ रहा है कि आगे कैसे होगा, कैसे बच्चों की पढ़ाई कंटिन्यू होगी। तो इस तरह की चीजें इस लॉकडाउन के समय चल रहा है।
धन्यवाद तान्या। बहुत अच्छा लगा आपको सुन के कि आप कम से कम अभी भी पूरी तरह से होपफुल हैं। हाँ, कठिनाइयां हैं, बट मैं अब मुझको लगभग 20 वर्ष हो गए हैं इस क्षेत्र में, और इतना मैं जानता हूँ कि समस्याओं के साथ साथ समाधान भी मिलते हैं।
बिल्कुल।
और कई बार जो समाधान है वो उसी समुदाय से निकलते हैं जहाँ पे ये समस्याएं होती हैं। तो आप लोग जो बिल्कुल कम्युनिटी से जुड़ के काम कर रहे हैं, you are the people who are really working close to the communities. That is where the solutions also are going to emanate from. So now let us just turn the discussion a little bit more towards the solutions. And I know that a lot of you are trying out, innovative ideas, innovative ways to keep the learning flag flying. I know that the moment the lockdown happened within the education sector, we've just seen a slew of experiments around e-learning. Now, of course, e-learning through the virtual mode is possible where you have ideal optimal connectivity. But आप लोग जिस एरिया से हैं जहाँ पे ये optimal connectivity अभी भी शायद कुछ टाइम दूर है, आप लोगों ने क्या किया है, और what are the means that you have taken to ensure that you keep going and the content reaches the children? So I want to start with you, Neeraj, because I know that your organization was one of the first to take a very innovative approach by having these wonderful read aloud videos, and that started circulating on our WhatsApp groups. And I've also seen you performing a few of these stories. So tell us a little more about what was the idea in starting this, and how has it helped children in the community that you are working with? What has been the reach of these videos so far?
So Chetan, yeah. So in response to this the scene, there were two things that we were mostly trying to do. So initially, when this lockdown started and the children were out of school, so there was this crazy idea. Not a crazy, I mean, it was a basic idea to make something online because everybody was going online. So we thought that okay, let's start whatever we can do. So what one thing that I'm really close with is our books, and I've been working in the field of libraries also for past 2 3 years. So so we thought, okay, let's make read aloud of these, some curate some wonderful books and then read it aloud and put it online so it could be accessed by any child throughout the country or even outside that. So if you see in the read aloud scene in online, you will find a lot of content in English language, read aloud in English, but very little in Hindi actually going on. So we thought, okay, let's do it in Hindi. Even English book, we do it in Hindi, and make it a nice thing. So we started doing that. We did around there are around 50 videos now, and more than 10,000 views we have got throughout the country. That was the case, but that this initiative is not a targeted initiative for the children we work with. It was a little bit of random reaction to the COVID-19. But also, there are some of the children we work with who have smartphones. So we did some we did made a low quality video of that, which has and then sent it to them. So that way they are showing it to some of the children in the villages, but that is very limited in the sense. So that was the overall idea, and even some of the children responded very beautifully to that. Some of the children wrote letters about that, sent me audio messages about that, about how they feel when they are listening to it. So it was actually a good thing to do actually. That was all read aloud. The second thing we are trying to do is uh, it is so like I said, it is very important to think beyond online when we live in spaces like Sukma, when we live in such rural spaces where it's a distant dream to think about online learning. So here what we are thinking is if we can do something offline. So there came the idea of making a sort of booklet sort of thing, and then putting worksheets, learning materials for different grades, for in different levels, and then giving it to children in all villages. So that was another idea. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Neeraj. And I think that's what's been happening, because especially in areas where we've had connectivity issues and online is not possible. What I've seen is that a lot of our organizations are going back to their roots, because a lot of us have gone through that era when there was no internet, और उस टाइम पे वर्कशीट्स से ही काम चलता था। और जैसा आपने बताया कि अगर आप वर्कशीट्स बच्चों तक पहुंचा रहे हैं, तो वो तो एक बहुत ही सिंपल सा पर बहुत इफेक्टिव तरीका है इस चीज को कंटिन्यू करने का। तान्या, आपसे जानना चाहेंगे कि आपकी संस्था ने भी कुछ ना कुछ इनोवेटिव तरीका, कुछ नवाचार किया है बच्चों तक पहुंचने के लिए, तो उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताएंगे कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं, और क्या क्या उसमें से क्या कारगर रहा है, क्या काम किया है, क्या नहीं किया है। आप अनम्यूट करें प्लीज अपने आप को।
सॉरी।
हाँ, या
जो हमारे पहले तो ये लॉकडाउन जब लगा तो बहुत दिन तक तो ये थमा सा रहा, और सबसे पहले हम लोगों ने सर्वे किया था। जो भी हमारे पास मतलब सभी बच्चों का एक प्रोफाइल होता है जिसमें कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर होते हैं। हेलो,
यस प्लीज कंटिन्यू, हम सुन सकते हैं आपको
जी। तो कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर जो था, तो उसके माध्यम से हम लोगों ने उन्हें पेरेंट्स को कांटेक्ट किया, और उसी से ही हम लोगों ने सर्वे किया पेरेंट्स के साथ, ये जानने के लिए कि बच्चों की पढ़ाई कैसी चल रही है, क्या इस लॉकडाउन के दौरान वो पढ़ रहे हैं, कोई सिबलिंग्स उनको पढ़ा रहे हैं, बड़े भाई या फिर उनके घर में जो हैं पढ़े लिखे वो पढ़ा रहे हैं या नहीं। तो मैक्सिमम 50% एवरेज आया है कि उनके सिबलिंग्स या फिर पेरेंट्स उनको घर पे पढ़ा रहे थे, जो आसपास के लोग थे वो उनको पढ़ा रहे थे। तो फिर हम लोगों ने ये प्लान किया, और सर्वे में हम लोगों ने ये भी बात की क्या अगर हमारे एडू लीडर्स उनको 1 घंटा या 1.5 घंटा उनको पढ़ाए, तो उनके लिए मैक्सिमम पेरेंट्स तैयार हो गए थे कि हाँ पढ़ा सकते हैं। उसके बाद फिर हम लोगों ने 2 सप्ताह लगभग हम लोगों ने फेलोज को ट्रेंड किया। पहले हम लोगों ने ये सोचा था कि पहले हम लोग उनको कंटेंट दे, जो भी जिनके पास मोबाइल है, टेक है, तो उनको हम कुछ कंटेंट दे सकते हैं, वीडियोस वगैरह, जिससे वो पढ़ सके, या फिर वर्कशीट वगैरह दे सकते हैं। तो लेकिन हम लोगों का ये अनुभव रहा है, हम लोगों ने भी बच्चों को पढ़ाया था, तो हमारा स्ट्रांगली ये अनुभव रहा था कि सिर्फ कंटेंट दे देने से बच्चे ज़्यादा दिन तक, 1 से 2 दिन एनर्जी उनका रहेगा, उसके बाद बच्चे नहीं पढ़ेंगे उस चीज़ को। तो हम लोगों का ये रहा था कि क्यों ना कंटेंट देने के साथ साथ हम उनको कुछ रोज एडू लीडर जिन बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे थे उन्हीं बच्चों को 1 घंटा समय दे, अपना उनको फैसिलिटेट करें उसी कॉन्टेक्ट पे। तो हम लोग अभी ऐसा ही कर रहे हैं कि 1 घंटा फेलोज उनको दे रहे हैं, और उस पे एडू लीडर्स उनको पढ़ा रहे हैं। दूसरा हमारा ये रहा था कि जब फेलोज को ये ट्रेंड किया गया, तो फेलोज ने इसे तैयार किया, उसको पढ़ाना स्टार्ट किया। तो अभी लगभग सभी फेलोज के पास 10 से 15 बच्चे रहते हैं, और वो मतलब एक कॉल पे 10 बच्चे रहते हैं कम से कम। तो उस पे जो एडू लीडर्स है उनको पढ़ाते हैं। तो अभी मैं ये नहीं कहूँगी कि पूरे तरीके से जिस तरह से क्लास में बच्चे पढ़ रहे थे उस तरह से पढ़ रहे हैं, लेकिन हाँ बच्चे कुछ ना कुछ सीख रहे हैं। उनका जो पढ़ाई था वो रुका नहीं है, कहीं ना कहीं वो पढ़ रहे हैं उस चीज़ को। इसमें सबसे बिग अचीवमेंट अगर मैं बताऊँ तो हमारा कम्युनिटी के साथ बहुत ही अच्छा रिलेशनशिप बना है, जहाँ हम बात करते हैं। और आई सक्षम का भी कहीं ना कहीं एक रीज़न ये रहा है कि हम कम्युनिटी को स्ट्रॉन्ग करें, क्योंकि अभी जैसे बिहार की जैसे आप न्यूज़ आ रही होगी कि पहले ये था कि पहले ठंड की छुट्टी थी बच्चों की, उसके बाद फिर आया स्ट्राइक की वजह से स्कूल बंद थी, अब यहाँ पे है लॉकडाउन के वजह से है। तो सिर्फ विद्यालय को हम लोग पकड़ के नहीं चल सकते कि हम लोग विद्यालय को लेकर हम लोग बच्चे को आगे ले जा सकते हैं। तो कम्युनिटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर इट। तो हम लोगों ने कम्युनिटी पे काम हम लोग चाहते हैं कि कम्युनिटी स्ट्रांग हो, कम्युनिटी ये समझे, उनके पेरेंट्स ये समझे कि बच्चे की जो शिक्षा है वो कितना इम्पोर्टेंट है, बच्चे को कैसी शिक्षा मिलनी चाहिए। तो ये चीज़ है। अभी मैंने जो एक्सपीरियंस किया है, मैं भी सेशन पे रहती हूँ, बच्चों के उस सेशन पे, और मैंने ये देखा है कि उनके माँ जो होती है वो ज़रूर पढ़ी लिखी नहीं है, फिर भी वो उनकी हेल्प करती है। हिंदी में बच्चे पूछते हैं तो कुछ ना कुछ घर के बारे में बताते हैं, कुछ ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट होते हैं जिसमें वो हेल्प करते हैं। धीरे से आवाज़ आती है मोबाइल के पीछे से कि पेरेंट्स उनको मदद कर रहे हैं। तो ये काफ़ी अच्छी हो रही है, और फिर हम लोग उनसे बात करते हैं तो काफ़ी अच्छा रिस्पॉन्स मिल रहा है। तो ये सबसे बड़ी अचीवमेंट कहीं ना कहीं आई सेक्शन की हमारी रही है, जो हमारा एक विजन की तरफ लेके जा रहा है।
थैंक यू तानिया। बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है आपसे ये सुन के। और तो ये जो कॉल्स हो रही हैं, ये कैसे ऑडियो कॉल्स हैं कि वीडियो कॉल्स हैं?
नहीं, क्योंकि ये तो ऑडियो कॉल है, और दूसरा ये चैलेंज भी कहीं ना कहीं हमारा ये आ रहा है ना कि बिहार में बहुत ऐसे घर है जहाँ पे मोबाइल नहीं है। तो अभी भी ये प्रॉब्लम आ रहे हैं कि हम लोग उन तक नहीं पहुँच पा रहे। हम लोग उनको वर्कशीट दे दिए हैं, लेकिन वर्कशीट देने के बाद कुछ ज़्यादा 2-3 दिन तक बनाते हैं, उसके बाद क्या रिस्पॉन्स रहता है वो डेली बेसिस पे नहीं हो पा रहा है। तो ये कहीं ना कहीं एक चैलेंज रहा है। हम लोग इस पर भी कुछ ना कुछ सोच रहे हैं अभी।
राइट, बिल्कुल। और आपने एक बात जो कही वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है कि अगर इस पीरियड को आप लोग यूज कर रहे हैं कम्युनिटी से और ज्यादा मजबूती से कड़ी जोड़ने की, तो वो एक बहुत ही अहम चीज है। बिकॉज समवेयर आई फेल्ट ओवर द लास्ट almost about 15 years, our education at the grassroots has been getting a little detached from the communities. And if in this period, if in this phase, we are able to reconnect, make that connect once again, I think that's going to be a huge achievement for education in general. I personally, ever since the COVID started, of course, we know that there is going to be a humongous loss of both lives and livelihoods. But it's important to also see what is going to change, what can change, what are some of the key issues that we can revisit, during this phase, both within our organizations individually as well as collectively. Because I also feel that the phase that we are going through is almost like the proverbial samudra manthan, और इसमें से बहुत कुछ निकल के आएगा। शायद अभी शुरू में थोड़ा सा विष निकल रहा है, जैसा कि समुद्र मंथन में हुआ था, पर कहीं ना कहीं शायद कुछ अमृत भी यहाँ से निकलेगा। So with this thought, let me turn to you to Samiksha, and you could share a little bit about the technology context in Gadchiroli, in the villages that you're working in.
Yeah. So जैसे मैंने पहले कहा कि we don't have lot of mobile range over here. तो जब पहला लॉकडाउन हुआ तो हमने स्कूल बंद किया, एंड वी सेड कि मतलब हमको भी ऐसे लगा था कि 15 दिन में वापस स्कूल शुरू हो जाएगा। तो उसी के हिसाब से बच्चे घर चले गए, एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट हैपेंड, एंड वी रन अ रेसिडेंशियल स्कूल. So we have a big campus over here, and then because the teachers were not going anywhere, we thought why not use these 15 days to brush up the knowledge that teachers have gained. तो मतलब ये कभी समय नहीं मिलता है, तो हमने सोचा कि we'll use this for our own capacity development. So what we did is all the teachers, like we are a staff of about 45 teachers, and we have 3 schools and round about 1000 से 1100 बच्चे, we reach out to them. So all of us, like, we sat for 5 days, and we revisited all the theories and different discussions and whatever, we don't get to do in the normal course of schooling. But then ऐसे हुआ कि दूसरा लॉकडाउन लग गया, और हमारे स्कूल्स में जो हमारे स्कूल्स है वो बहुत कम्युनिटी से बहुत गहरा रिश्ता वाले स्कूल्स है। तो गांव से लोग आने लगे कि नहीं, आप कब शुरू कर रहे हो, यू शुड डू समथिंग, कुछ तो करो। बच्चे हमको मिलते थे तो वो कहते थे कि नहीं, स्कूल स्टार्ट करो। तो हमारे काफी टीचर्स गांवों में रहते हैं यहाँ पे। तो ड्यूरिंग द सेकंड लॉकडाउन व्हाट वी डिड, एज अश्वती सेड, कि गांव में तो लॉकडाउन नहीं है, मतलब इट इज जस्ट इम्पॉसिबल कि घर में बैठे हैं। They go to the forest, hunting is there, they are doing their agriculture jobs and whatever small rituals in the village and everything. So in the second lockdown, we started around about 12 community run learning centers. तो आसपास के बच्चे और टीचर आके सुबह नहीं तो शाम में 3 घंटा बच्चों के साथ समय बिताते थे. So the idea was of course not teaching them anything, just to keep them engaged and like share storybooks and sort of that. And then after the third and fourth lockdown, when things started getting a bit opening up, because ours was a green zone. So abhi we are like running these community learning centers in 30 villages, and we are reaching up to about 700 children. So that is what we are doing now.
Okay, great to hear this. So, so just to make it clear to everybody, these community learning centers how are they happening? It's not physically that the children are coming there, are they?
Yes, that is the only way. That is offline learning for us, or online learning, which is not happening in school, because it is just not possible. You'll be amazed at the way we call children is we write letters. So we write letters, and we have a hospital urine project. So if someone is from that village, so we just tell them to drop this letter in that village, and then the letter reaches the mukhya of that village, and then he will give the message to that children. So that is how we are functioning. So it is just not possible to have any audio calls. Video calls are like a distant dream. So that is how we are doing it.
That's quite fascinating, Samiksha, to just visualize that, we are back to writing letters and things like that. But that's the beauty and the diversity of our country. एक ही देश में हमें इतना कुछ देखने को सीखने को मिल सकता है, कहीं बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. So Ashwati, we are on to you now, and you are unique. You are in a river island, and very little access to technology, I'm sure, even in regular times. So how are your children learning these days? How are you finding ways to support them?
So I think once the lockdown was announced, like there was this first 1 or 2 weeks where we were lost. Kya karna hai? We didn't have any idea. So everything was on pause. There was literally maybe no communication between even teachers and us. Ki kya karna chahiye? We were like, okay, 21 days and we will see. But by the end of the second week, the gravity of the situation was like really showing. This is here to stay, as in the lockdown is going to continue for a bit. What can we do? And we also started thinking about, okay, how will we make sure our children are learning? And yes, there is very limited internet connectivity here. Mobiles are not there in most families. But we still thought, okay, we will try alag cheezein koshish karte hain. So we tried making WhatsApp groups with children who had access to a phone. Matlab un log ke ghar pe somebody had a phone. If they did not have phones, neighbor ka ya uncle ka, koi relative ka. And so we tried making a WhatsApp group. Maybe roughly 30-40% of our kids were onboarded into those class-wise groups. And then for a few other kids who maybe just had a normal phone, we thought, okay, we will do calls. Each child will call thrice a week and, just speak to them for 20 minutes. Maybe they have their textbooks with them, so we might give them few assignments linking to their surroundings. So at least they maintain the relationship with the teacher. But the thing is, when we call, either the child is not there, even if you put assignments on the WhatsApp group, there were very few kids who responded. They would say they have gone to the paddy field. A lot of time, there were no incoming calls because parents didn't have money to recharge, or maybe had no access to recharge their phones. There were all these things that were happening. So we still continue doing that as much as possible. There are few kids who are very regular, and we have not surprisingly, we have seen that the kids who respond regularly are actually kids in whose family parents have gone to school to a certain level, or they have a older brother or an uncle who has gone to school. So that's what we see. So then a couple of weeks back, once the lockdown eased a bit, what we did was we sent our teachers on home visits to these communities. And what we saw then was that the communities were very suspicious of people from outside coming. So they were not very welcoming. But they also, even, and this is despite following, the social distancing norms. And they also came back with a lot of observations and experiences. And when we discussed, few of the things that came through was, yes, children learning is a big part, but like even more heartbreaking to hear was how this lockdown had affected our children emotionally. So for context, our children are not children during the lockdown. They're sitting at home and doing nothing. These kids, when they're home, they have to go to the paddy fields, they have to work, they have to go to the river, they have to tend to the cows, feed the pigs. So they're working the whole day, even though they're kids. And you add to that the mix that they're children who are really confused of what is happening, that uncertainty. These are things that I think is what's possibly happening here. And the sweet children that we sent home, a lot of our teachers say, they seem to have become a little harsh. We had this one kid who is the most loving and most empathetic kid. And when the teacher went and, spoke to him at home, he's like, I don't think I'm coming back to school. I don't see any sense in it. And this is what is keeping us awake right now. Like, how do we support our children emotionally? There's no technology to reach them and call them every day. We can't send teachers to the villages. Yes, they're, people say children are going outside, they're in the nature. That's not enough. They're kids, and the parents don't have this time to sit and, talk to the child. How are you feeling? What are you going through? And so that's one thing that's really more than learning. That's what keeps us thinking right now. And another thing is our older girls. So we live in a community where early marriage is quite prevalent. By 13, 14, a lot of them run away and get married. I'm sure a lot of you resonate who work in tribal communities. And so now our worry is these girls we have sent home 2 months back, are they going to come back to us, or are they going to run away and get married? Or is the education even going to be a priority, not just for the girls, for a lot of our older boys too, because with the changing circumstances, they might need more hands on the deck at home too. So learning, yes, but I think all these things are things we are currently in a space where we are not sure, like, how do we address this? So we're thinking different things, but yes, still thinking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you are, Ashwati, you and your team, because just to kind of wade through the kind of uncertainty and ambiguity that we are living through, and on top of that, the kind of geography that you're working in, I'm sure it's by no means an easy task. But hats off to you and your team for having continuing to be persuasive about it, and trying to find solutions. Yes, you touched upon the emotional aspect of COVID-19, and that's something which we will take up, because I believe that there's also a question related to that. But just as you shared, some very heartwarming stories, can we also hear from the others very quickly? If you could tell us about something which has, over the last 2 months that we've been locked down, something that has touched you, that you've seen or heard, something which kind of is truly heartwarming. So can we start with you, Neeraj?
Yes, it might be quite hard to think about any heartwarming scenes in the last 2 months. But yeah, I can. Maybe one of the responses I got from one of the small child. So I don't know that small child, but she has been watching read aloud videos, and then what she did is she recorded her own video of read aloud, and then she sent it to us. and she did so wonderfully. We all were watching it, and we all were elated and full of happiness to see such a small child. She might be in grade 1 or 2 while learning to read, maybe at that stage of reading, where she's just learning to read letters and words. But she was able to read the entire book. She was able to express it confidently. She was able to explain it, set context to it, and she did that on herself. And then she sent it to us as a response to the videos she has seen that has been made by us. So that made us believe that okay, that we did something, like it was not a very invested approach, that we just did it, and still it has that sort of response for children, and that was very heartwarming for all of us. That was it inspired us that to keep doing any small thing that is possible. One must do any small thing that is possible in such times. All acts matters in these times. I think that's one of the things I can think of now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, all that matters is to keep trying, and that's well said, because at certain times, that's the best that we can do, which is to keep trying, not give up, and you never know, who it's going to touch, who it's going to impact, and um, what the impact of this is going to be on somebody's life. So if that child recorded a story of her own and sent it to you, I think that was a very heartwarming. It must have been a very heartwarming gesture for you. टर्निंग टू यू तान्या आपसे सुने कि कोई एक ऐसी बात जो कि बिल्कुल आपको छू दी हो और बहुत अच्छा लगा हो जिसको सोच के.
हाँ, मुझे याद है कि जब मैंने ये जो वर्चुअल सेशन है हमारा जो बच्चों के साथ स्टार्ट हुआ है, तो जब मैंने इसे स्टार्ट किया तो क्या हो रहा था कि जिस टाइम हम लोग कॉल करते थे, अगर किन्हीं बच्चे को आवाज़ नहीं आ रही है, कुछ आवाज़ सुनाई नहीं दे रही है, तो वो क्या करते थे कि डायरेक्ट घर पे आ जाते थे सभी लोग. तो ये भी कहीं ना कहीं बहुत समझाना पड़ता था उन्हें उसके बाद कि घर पे नहीं आना, क्योंकि आसपास के बच्चे थे लेकिन एक साथ आए, चलो चलो हम लोग वहीं जाते हैं, वहीं पे पढ़ लेंगे हम लोग सब मिलकर. तो ये सारी चीजें हो रही थी. यही चीज एडू लीडर्स के साथ भी हो रहा था कि बच्चे को अगर आवाज नहीं आती तो वो डायरेक्ट बोलते नहीं मम्मी मुझे नहीं बात करना है, तो कॉपी उठाए, कलम उठाए और लेके आ गए घर पे. तो ये चीज काफी अच्छा फनी मूवमेंट भी रहा है हम लोगों के लिए, और काफी थोड़ा सा समझाना पड़ा उन लोगों को. तो कहीं ना कहीं ये एक यादगार पल रहा है इस टाइम पे. दूसरा जो पेरेंट्स के साथ रहता है हम लोगों का, जैसे जब हम लोग बात करते हैं पेरेंट्स से तो वो पीछे से बोलती हैं, उनको लगता है कि आवाज नहीं आ रही है. जैसे कुछ बच्चों से अगर पूछा जा रहा है तो उनको लगता है कि हम अगर बच्चे से पूछ रहे हैं तो पेरेंट्स पीछे से बोलते हैं, मतलब उनको बताते हैं, लेकिन उनको लगता है कि नहीं आवाज नहीं जा रही है. लेकिन जो एडू लीडर्स हैं उन तक आवाज वो आ जा रही है कि पेरेंट्स उसको बता रहे हैं. मैं पूछ रही हूँ उनसे, जैसे अगर हम कुछ असेसमेंट उनका मोबाइल पे पढ़ाने के बाद लास्ट में जो हम लोग लेते हैं, तो वो लेने के दौरान पेरेंट्स भी बताते हैं, और कहीं ना कहीं पेरेंट्स भी वो चीज सीखते हैं. कहीं ना कहीं ये मेरे लिए काफी इमोशनली मुझे टच किया है ये मोमेंट.
हाँ, थैंक यू तान्या. आई एम श्योर ये काफी इमोशनल हो रहा होगा, और स्पेशली पेरेंट्स कई बार हमें इस तरह के कम्युनिटीज में ऐसा लगता है कि बहुत ज्यादा एक्सप्रेस नहीं करते हैं. मतलब सब कोई चाहते तो जरूर हैं कि उनके बच्चे अच्छे से अच्छा सीखें और पढ़ें, पर कहीं ना कहीं इस चीज को उजागर करना, इस बात को सामने लाना उनके लिए थोड़ा सा कठिन होता है. और ये बात जब निकल के आती है पेरेंट्स से, when they start expressing themselves, it is indeed a very important and a touching moment for us. So let's turn to you, Samiksha. What's been your experience in this regard?
I would like to tell two things. One is a really positive thing and the other is not that good. So the first one is कि जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कि we are running these village learning centers. So when I visited a learning center, it's like मतलब वो एक थोड़ा सा बड़ा गांव है इन गांव में से. तो वहाँ पे एक गवर्नमेंट रन रेजिडेंशियल स्कूल है, तो वहाँ पे they have this 3G facility in that school. So one of our ex-students from the school in Hemalkasa, who is now learning in IIT, and he had to come back due to this lockdown. And he had informed me that I am back and I might need some internet connection and I will come to school. And then I didn't have any communication from him, and I accidentally met him in that village when we were there. And he told me that he studies for 8 hours over there, and he sits in front of that school because the school is closed, and he had to take a village meeting to use that connectivity of the school. So even though the school is closed, he sits over there in front of that office, and he is doing his assignments of IIT Gwalior. So that was something like, I was overwhelmed after hearing that. And like I was like, this is the limit of the fight that we have to give in. So that was really very motivating for me personally. And the next thing is like in a school, like it's a bigger issue than just COVID, but I feel that how private schools are creating hegemony, and how that manifests too much in when we go into the village scenario. Like when we are in school and we are giving everything for the child, all the resources and whatever the child deserves, of course. But when we take this same thing in the village setting, like जब हम जाते हैं तो हमारे समझो स्कूल के 30 बच्चे बैठ रहे हैं, 2 टीचर्स हैं, फैसिलिटेटर्स, and they are having fun. There are more than 15 children looking at us from 100-meter apart. So that is really heartbreaking. I mean, when I see this in village after village, it's like, I mean, I don't know what to make sense out of this, but like it's a good thing that some children are coming, and at the same time it's like a weird situation that we can't reach out to so many more.
Well, yes. I mean, one can obviously not overlook the underlying tragedy of what we are going through, of the fact that we've had to impose distance, amongst people because of the social distancing thing, because of the fact that we are not able to go out and touch and connect with so many of the children out there. So this is something which is definitely there. And but despite that, I think some of the things that we've just heard from each one of you are the things which would help us keep going through this phase, and continue to go into this with the hope that the moment things become better, they are not just going to be back to where we were a few months back, but hopefully something better is going to emerge out of this. So before we turn to questions from the participants which have been coming, so thank you participants, keep sending more questions. But just one quick thing from each one of you. See, right now there are a lot of people listening to you who might be interested in getting an answer to the question, what can we do to help? You are the people who are at the front line, and you're the ones who are bracing the kind of challenges that we are facing. But for us who are sort of listening to you, what is that one thing that you can tell us where we can reach out and help? People who are well-meaning individuals, corporate people, हम क्या कर सकते हैं इस वक्त आपके जैसे संस्थाओं की मदद करने के लिए? Can we start with you, Ashwati?
Yes, Chetan. One thing I would like for the people who are listening to us right now, 2 things that I would like them to consider. One is in rural communities, like in rural organizations like ours, when we hire people, and am I audible? I just feel
Yes,
like
yes. Please go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. So in rural organization like ours, where we hire mostly from our communities, so our relationship with our team members are, not just with the individual, but it extends to their family and to the community as well. So sometimes when we have to let someone go, it just is not cutting a relationship with that person, but it's also cutting the relationship with the entire community. So where I'm coming from is a month back or so, we got emails from our long-term supporters saying that they're either going to pause the support, stop the support, or maybe cut a lot of the support because of the current situation. It maybe in urban spaces things work on a contract basis, things work in terms of 1 or 2 year projects. But when we are working in the rural spaces, we need people who can support us in the long term. It's a long term journey through our ups and downs. And when you work in rural areas at the grassroots, a year or 2 is not enough, especially when you're working in education. It's a work of many years. And for us, our people, the communities that we work with are its backbone. So that's one aspect. Another aspect continuing from this is a tendency for many supporters to ask us to optimize our operational cost. What they essentially mean is, pay your staff less. You live in a village, how much money do they need? 3,000, 4,000 rupees should be enough. But I just invite people to think, why is it that we think people from the rural communities deserve to just survive and not to thrive? Why is it that people who work in the non-profit sectors in rural communities have to give up more than their urban counterparts? So if these thoughts resonate, what I'm trying to say is I invite you to come join in our journey as a long-term supporter, and I just keep these things in mind when engaging with organizations in the rural space as a supporter.
Right. Thank you, Ashwati. I'm sure people who are listening have noted these points. Let's move to Neeraj now. Quick response from you, Neeraj.
Yeah, I think what Ashwati said, it's like spoken all our hearts out. That's what on the top of our minds right now. That to believe in all sorts of grassroots work is a matter of high importance right now. And also there is a sort of an idea which is there around online learning, that people might support online learning, but they might not much be progressively supporting things beyond online learning, which is like the offline learning. So maybe becoming how can we think in ways to become more empathetic towards these spaces which are beyond online learning. That's what, and how can we all collaborate in the sense that who are all living in rural geographies, what are the ways where people can collaborate, like Samiksha said about a few things about what they are doing, writing letters and stuff. So now we are able to pick this up. It's a very beautiful thing. So it's a collaboration, and then how that's going to happen between people who are working in rural geographies, and then thinking about all these ways which are not really online, but supporting those ideas.
Right. Yeah, I think that's it's a valid point, Neeraj. And again, I'm sure that's something which would hopefully resonate with the people who are listening to you or are going to listen to you through the recording of this webinar, which is going to be available on various platforms. Coming with the same question to you, Samiksha, what is your message in terms of how can we help for your school?
I would really like if if people who are listening can come and visit Hemalkasa and spend some time with the children, not in actual teaching or the pedagogical thing, but I think that everyone has something to offer, and like I said, what the children and the community here miss out on is exposure, what is happening in the outside world, to broadening their perspectives and understanding what is happening. So I think that interactions with different people and knowing them on a personal level will help this. So I mean, apart from what Ashwati said, I mean, of course, I agree with all of that. And I would like if people come here and interact with children.
Right, sure. Thank you. And hopefully that invitation will be taken by some of the people who are listening to this. If I get a chance, I'll definitely try and come and visit you.
Yes, sure.
Let's move to Tanya now. Tanya, आप बताएं कि किस तरह से हम लोग जो लोग इस वेबिनार पे हैं, आपको आपकी संस्था को आई सक्षम को मदद कर सकते हैं.
मुझे जो लगता है इस टाइम पे तो ज़्यादा मुझे कुछ इस चीज़ों पे आइडियाज़ नहीं है कि किस तरह से मतलब मुझे तो ज़्यादा मैं फैसिलिटेशन पे ज़्यादा रहती हूँ, तो मुझे उसका ज़्यादा अनुभव है, तो मैं उस पे ही बताना चाहूँगी. तो मुझे जो लगता है अभी जो जैसा कि पहले हम लोगों ने 3 महीने पहले नहीं सोचा था कि इस तरह का कुछ सिचुएशन आएगा जब हम लोग इस तरह का कुछ करेंगे, इस तरह से कोई वर्चुअल सेशन लेंगे. और जहाँ पे मैं पिछड़े इलाके पे हूँ और वहाँ पे एडू लीडर्स के लिए इतना चैलेंजिंग है उनका सेशन लेना मोबाइल पे. कहीं पे कुछ प्रॉब्लम आता है, टेक का प्रॉब्लम आता है, बच्चे कुछ शोर करने लगते हैं, कुछ बैकग्राउंड से आवाज़ आता है, तो इस तरह के बहुत सारे चैलेंज. तो अभी जो मुझे लग रहा है और मैं काफ़ी दिनों से इस चीज़ को सोच भी रही हूँ कि कैसे जो हमारे फेलोज एडू लीडर्स हैं उनको हम कैसे मोटिवेट कर सकते हैं, उनको किस तरह से वर्चुअल सेशन के लिए ट्रेन किया जा सकता है. तो मैं इस पर कुछ सेशन लेना चाहूँगी, इस तरह की मदद चाहिए हमारी संस्था की.
थैंक यू तान्या ने, ये आपने बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट बात कही है, बिकॉज ये जो ई लर्निंग का जो दौर अचानक से हम लोग सबके ऊपर आ गया है, जाहिर है हम लोगों को इस चीज की इससे पहले बहुत ज्यादा इसका अनुभव नहीं रहा है, और इसके लिए जो क्षमता वर्धन की, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग की जरूरत है, वो इस एक चीज है जो कि इमर्ज कर रही है इस सेक्टर में. और मुझको ऐसा लगता है कि द नीड टू create better e-trainers, people who can teach or facilitate using technology. I think that is something which is definitely going to emerge as a clear need. So thank you. We'll now quickly take a few questions that have come from some of our audience today. The first question is to Ashwati from Vishesh Singh. Ashwati, his question to you is, what do parents and community feel about this disruption to education? And also with schools closed and the flood season around the corner in Assam, how are you preparing to support the children?
So in respect to the community, I think increasingly they are getting more scared. Initially, maybe they didn't understand it as much, but with more awareness and more information, they're more scared for their children, for their life, and they want to take care of their health more than thinking of immediately learning. So education can continue once things come back to a normal situation is what I'm getting the sense of from the communities here, from my interaction with the parents or the elders of the community. And there are some parents who are definitely worried, when they call us and say, when are you going to start the school? And they're worried. And these are the same parents who engage on WhatsApp, like I remember, like I had told earlier. But we can't open the school until it's absolutely safe to do so, or the government gives us the direction to do that. So that's how the community is saying it, and most of our parents. As regards to what our strategy is during floods, even otherwise, children are at home. They're like that's the time when the community is actually in a lockdown situation per se. But something that we are actually thinking is taking inspiration from what iSection is doing. And we also have our own fellowship. It's called as the Manthan Fellowship. So from our learnings from there is we are considering community-based learning spaces. One is majority of our teachers are from the community itself. So most of our kids.
I think we lost you, Ashwati. Okay, I think Ashwati probably got dropped. She was attempting to answer the question that had come from Vishesh. So she's back. Would you want to conclude, Ashwati? We can't.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know how I got disconnected. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
So what we are considering is that, our teachers who are from these communities lead both scholastic as well as, emotional interaction with the children on a daily basis is something that we are considering. But this might not be during the flood because I don't know if many of you knows, but floods are already happening in many parts of Assam. So it's going to be here very soon. So this might most likely be the scenario in post floods in August, which is when most likely the school will also reopen. If not, then this community center is something that we are considering. Also considering the fact that this lockdown might not.
Okay, I guess there's clearly a connectivity issue here, and I mean we are lucky that it's happening at the fag end of our session. There isn't too much time. I mean, there have been a lot of questions that have come in, and thank you to all the participants who've sent these questions. We'll try and answer some of these questions for you as well. But I'll just take a couple of questions before we conclude. I think one important question that has been asked is in terms of our teachers in the schools. This is clearly a huge shift for the teachers, and we are going through a lot of uncertainty. The teachers have to unlearn a lot, and if any of you would want to share what has been happening at that end, how are they being involved? So, would you want to take a shot at it, Samiksha?
So actually, I was going to tell this, but I just forgot. Since we are learning these village level learning centers, we have a mix of children who are attending the classes. So what is happening is we are like running multi-level classes. So the teachers were really used to teaching third standard and fourth standard, and now that we have children from first to eighth, everyone together. And for 10th, then we have school up to 12th. So for them, we are taking another batch. So it's really challenging for them. Like my teachers, I mean, when we discuss and we have these talks, they get exhausted. Like this is a completely new avenue for them. They, teaching children from different age groups. So that was really challenging and a great learning experience.
Yeah, thank you, Samiksha. I mean, I'm afraid we can't take any more questions because we've really run out of time. And therefore, we'll try and answer the unanswered questions for each one of you. There have been some very interesting ones, including Vivek wanting to know about whether we need to repurpose education itself during these times. Vivek, if you're listening to this, I'd love to answer that question, for you. But I guess it's just been an amazing and a riveting discussion with each one of you over these last 1.5 hours. My word on this would be that, let us not underestimate the resilience of our communities as well as, most importantly, our children. I feel that they are going to spring back. It's important for us to keep in touch with them. It's important for us to keep spreading the word of motivation and confidence amongst them, and through this, hopefully, we'll come out better and stronger. So, thank you very much. We've had the pleasure to listen to Neeraj, Ashwati, Samiksha, and Tanya, who are among those who are fighting a rather challenging and often lonely battle of keeping education at the forefront while lives and livelihoods take a hit across the country. We are truly proud and inspired by the work individuals and groups like you are doing on the ground every single day. Thank you very much for joining us as panelists and giving us a reality check on this issue. And thank you to the wonderful audience for engaging with panelists. And with this, we come to the closure of the first session for this week. But there's more. There are 3 more sessions lined up this week. Tomorrow, we'll be back at the same time with an equally special and important discussion, which is dedicated to farmers across the country. You can join the session on the same link. Good night. Stay safe. Thank you very much.